Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is release day at Rachelle Anne Miller and there are some incredible new digital stamps out there, including this adorable animal number 1 bunny. I just love it. I love all of them, all of them. I already shared a sneak peek previously on the Rachelle Anne Miller YouTube channel, so if you haven't seen that yet, definitely check it out because there I did the 4 ducks and it was just adorable. So I hope you check it out if you didn't yet. But definitely make sure to follow on Instagram and all design team members because there are so many inspirations out there that you don't want to miss. Today I have a card with, again, a lot of Copic coloring. Why? Because, well, I want to improve and I got a lot of lovely feedback from you guys that you want to see more, that it is helpful. So why don't I try it again with this digital stamp? And I must admit, it was a bit harder this time again with what I tried to do, but I'm really glad with the end result. And again, lots of improvement can still be done, but we all have to start somewhere. So I used, as I previously did once, this rectangle Extraordinaire stencil for my favorite things. I don't necessarily use it as a stencil, I use it more as a guidance on where I want my scenery to be in. And then for my background, I decided that I wanted to try things out with purples, which is not my favorite color family just because they are a bit harder to blend. But I wanted to do this sky kind of vibe and it didn't have to blend completely. So I first did the light source and sort of the glow that I wanted on the bunny and all those things. And then I thought, okay, now let's try that background. As I usually do, I start with the hardest thing, which is definitely the background, since I am not used of using Copic markers in this way. And what did I do? Well, I started with the darkest color and I did some flicking, different, size. It's not really a size. I went a bit farther, a bit less far with the flicking of the darkest, and then I took another color and I just continued to flicking a bit further wherever I could, to sort of have those different colors that you can have in the sky. The sky is barely exactly the same color. Sometimes it happens, but it's barely the case. And so I wanted to have this kind of color that you have right before it gets really dark and blue. You sometimes have that purple, pinkish kind of vibe, and that's what I wanted. So I did that here, and so I went a bit further every time, avoiding, of course, where I have my light sources. There I will do as I did in some previous videos, that I will work my way into the darker colors around the light source. So I first did the really light colors and then I will go all around to fix the rest. Now I already have my frame sort of here, so I decided to remove that stencil to just give me some room to get things done. Whenever I thought that I had a marker too far from the previous one, I used the tip to tip here to sort of get that blend in between to not make it too harsh. But I also wanted to have sort of a lighter area in the sky that you will see here. It's sort of a zigzag towards the bottom in the end. I didn't know where this was going, and I first thought that it was really rubbish, but I just kept going, and that gave me this end result that I really like, so it was worth it. So here again I want to elongate the flicking that I did with a lighter marker, but my marker really is too much of a contrast, so that's why the tip to tip happens here. And then here going around again into that yellow, and I will come back with the yellow again as well to make it better. Then one star I did purposely outside of the stencil just to have a bit of fun, and not everything needs to be aligned, not everything needs to be fixed inside of a frame that you're using. By just playing with a tiny part that is going outside of that frame, you can have a lot of fun, I think. So here it was really all about building up, and I don't know if you will see it very long, but the back is completely saturated of this paper because I used quite a lot of markers to get this background done. I also immediately bought the refills because my lighter purples were drying out immediately after this card. So yeah, I also at a certain point stopped with my background, and then before continuing with the bunny and the number 1, I decided to go back in and add a bit more to the background because it was just a bit too much of a zigzag on the bottom. Well, you will see it later on, but it was a work in progress. So here finally I'm doing that moon and the stars with a bit of a darker yellow, but not too much of it because I want to sort of have the same kind of color as the glow around it. So that's why my lightest colors in the moon and the stars is also the color that is around the stars and the moon. And then back in with the pink, a bit back with the yellow. It's really all about building up here. So I thought it was done, but then I thought, no, it isn't. So after a while, I came back to the background and just added a bit more over there. Yeah, you can add as much as you want, and actually I think that you can keep adding. There will always be an area that you might think, maybe just by adding a bit more. At a certain point, you need to say to yourself that you added enough, you know. But I'm sure that this kind of background, it's fun actually to create, but you will never be able to create exactly the same. It's too random to get the same, I think. I also decided to add a bit of grounding. I first thought maybe I can just do the purple shadowing, and then I thought, well, no, I will need the lighter purple as well on the ground, so that's why I just quickly took that stencil again to guide me again with my rectangle here on the bottom. And that's how the grounding came together. So all about the purples. So I fixed wherever I went a bit inside of the area. I didn't know yet that I was going to use blues. It's quite dark colors, so maybe I shouldn't have fixed it over there, but the bunny definitely needed some fixing. Of all the purples where I went inside the area of the bunny, because my brown was going to be quite light, and so I wouldn't be able to cover the purple with that. So here again, never completely sure about the background, but I think adding a bit of that mid-tone more was just what it needed, and then blending it out again. So once I was sort of happy with the background, let me just phrase it like that, I started on the bunny. The bunny was going to be in quite a light brown, keeping in mind also the glow that I wanted to have. So I added the glow first, as you saw me doing in the beginning, and then I'm going to make sure to get my blend with my browns, as I would usually do, going from darkest to lightest. I will, however, come back with the yellow again to lighten it wherever I need to and to really emphasize that glow again, because it sort of stays there, it sort of comes from underneath the browns that you're adding, but at the same time, if your brown is a bit too dark, then your yellow will definitely fade a bit more, maybe a bit too much, but just go back in there with the yellow. That's what I did, and it really helped. And I'm really glad with the contrast that I have, also with the glow that I sort of have. So that was really fun to do. It's still a bit weird to do things with a glow and all those things. It's a bit, well, it stays a bit outside of the comfort. It will take a while to get used to mixing and matching color families that aren't the same. but I really think that if you try this, it can add something really gorgeous to your cards, and I'm always really happy with what I do so far by adding that yellow glow sort of from my light sources on my critters. It's just not as easy as what I would normally go for, but it's worth it. So here I'm adding another layer of that brown. I'm not afraid to go over the yellow, not at all. I can always come back in with the yellow. In case you want to know the color combinations without revisiting this video, because it's a lot of coloring here, as you know, it's always listed on my blog post, including whatever I used, and in the description box you can also find all the supplies in a supply list. Not the color combinations, those are on the blog post. That would be just a bit too much to add in this description box. The number one, I eventually decided to also do a glow over there. And so I first did the glow, and then I was contemplating the colors that I was going to use, and I thought, well, maybe I can just add the blue over there and also do the blanket with the blue, which is kind of cute. And the colors return what I like doing. So that's what I did. And I took a quite dark blue combination, starting with the B39, but it actually really helps to showcase that glow even more. And I really, really like that. So here I tried to avoid the stars as much as possible. It was a bit fiddling, but I think the details that Rachelle Anne Miller adds are really, they are just, it's a perfect finishing of her digital stamps. And when they are dots, you can add with your white jelly roll pen the white back onto the dots. Now with the stars I wanted them yellow, so I had to sort of try to avoid at least as much as possible the stars, so that I could still use that yellow. So here I'm just adding really simple one color. The stars are so tiny that one marker really is enough. And then let's do that one. That's number one. I wanted it to appear a bit rounded, so that's why I try to stay away from the edge as much as possible with the darkest marker. And then I'm working my way towards the lightest, the same markers as for the blanket. And then just playing a bit more back and forth with that yellow glow. So here, as you can see, I sort of covered the whole yellow, and it's really subtle, but I am going back in there later on with the yellow because I wanted it to be more. There should be more yellow, in my opinion. So first trying to get the blend. As I said, there's quite a contrast in my blue combination here. So to get that blend that I prefer, I had to go quite extensive back and forth between the markers, also oversaturating that one a bit. And then here with the yellow, it sort of turned a bit greenish, and I just love it. I love it. So I'm taking my basic rectangles from my elephant to cut it out in an A2 size. I'm trying to sort of make sure that my rectangle is in the middle, and then I can die cut it. There is so much going on with this background that I just thought that I shouldn't add anything more. You can always add happy birthday or 1 year, or if you have another occasion to give a card with a number 1, then add the other occasion. I personally find this saying enough, and if I want to, I can always add the occasion on the inside. I still have all the options open, although for me it's going to be a birthday card. And then I decided to add glossy accents on the moon, the stars, and number 1, which is really huge. It dried and I was so happy with it. It's crazy, but the shine really adds. Also, what you saw me doing when I start with glossy accents, I always go first onto the tip of my finger. You can rub it off yourself without any issues. That's just to prevent that there is any air bubble going around just in the front of my glossy accents, and so it won't be on my images any bubbles or anything like that. That's why I do that. That's my tip that I can give you if you're struggling with glossy accents, having always those bubbles wherever you add it. Just add it first on your finger without loosening your bottle. Go to your image and add it over there. And if you're not sure, go up again on top of your finger to make sure that any air inside of your tube there is out there. So that is my card and a little tip. It might help you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it was quite long and a lot of coloring, but I think it was worth it. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Just leave something in the comments. I want to thank you all for stopping by, and I wish you an incredible day. Don't forget, today is release day, so there are 10 new digital stamps out there, and you will love each and every one of them. I'm sure of it. Thank you so much, and I'll be back soon. Bye!